Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We begin with the world's response to the Russian attack on a Ukrainian nuclear power plant, the biggest in Europe. The American ambassador to the United Nations calls the attack reckless and dangerous. At an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, Linda Thomas-Greenfield said the attack reflected a, quote, dangerous new escalation in Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
By the grace of God, the world narrowly averted a nuclear catastrophe last night. We all waited to exhale as we watched the horrific situation unfold in real time. I applaud the ability of the Ukrainian operators to keep all 6 reactors in safe conditions while under attack and to report as they were able to their nuclear regulator. We are gravely concerned that the Ukrainian operators are now doing their jobs under extreme duress.
This comes as the war stretches into its 9th day. No damage was done to the reactors at the Zaporizhzhia plant after a projectile hit nearby buildings on the site, but 3 Ukrainian soldiers were killed. Images show Ukrainian firefighters working to put out the ensuing fire. Officials say it took some time for them to douse the fire because they were being shot at by Russian troops.
All the safety systems of the 6 reactors at the plant were not affected at all, and that there has been no release of radioactive material.
As the conflict wages on in Ukraine, those with ties overseas can only watch on in horror from afar, including Northern Ontario lawyer who is Ojibwe and Ukrainian in heritage. Don Ruska is a former Liberal MP for the Thunder Bay Rainy River riding. He's a lawyer working from the Fort William First Nation. Here's some of what he had to say about that situation and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. You actually met President Zelenskyy at an event in Toronto recently. Can you share with us what that was about? What did you think of him then? Your thoughts on his leadership now?
It wasn't recently. It was when he was first elected as president of Ukraine. He does have an amazing presence, and it's funny because he's physically he's not a large individual. I don't know exactly how tall he is, but I'm approximately 6 feet tall, and he was quite a bit shorter than me. So, but his presence is amazing, and just seeing the videos of him of the last 2 weeks have been absolutely inspiring and amazing. He's certainly inspired a lot of people around the world and is very inspiring to the people of Ukraine. So he is certainly a force and a presence.
Well, certainly, I love I don't need a ride, I need ammo, I don't need a lift. I love that quote. You were a Liberal MP yourself from 2015 to 2019. I'm curious your thoughts on what the Liberal government has promised to do to help versus what you think that Canada should be doing to help.
Yeah, and as part of the Liberal government, I sat on as a director of the Canadian-Ukrainian Friendship Group, and we lobbied our government at the time and worked with our government. Minister Freeland, who had a different role at the time, but was still supportive of Ukraine and sending support has been remarkable. In the last little while. I know requests were made earlier for defensive arms. They weren't met until recently, but as I mentioned before, I was in Ottawa earlier this week, and I happened to run into Minister Freeland. I thanked her for what she did and what she has been doing in terms of getting our whole government to support the people of Ukraine in terms of economic aid, humanitarian aid, and defensive aid. They need it because it's just I have no ill will against the Russian people, but their leader right now in President Putin is just pure evil, and he needs to be stopped. If someone stopped Hitler way back when, you think about how many lives would have been saved. So it's so sad, and just any support that anyone can offer in terms of, especially that humanitarian aid and supporting the refugees, I just think is so important.
Yeah. Well, our thoughts are with your family over there, with you as you watch from afar. It's got to be frustrating. We thank you for taking the time out of your day today to come and chat with us.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it.
That was former Liberal MP Don Rusnak. As we said, he is of Ukrainian and Ojibwe heritage. Well, to Nunavut now, where the Legislative Assembly starts their session next week. And just in time, federal ministers were there to the region to make some funding announcements today.
As a reminder, you can ask questions of our speakers through teleconference.
Housing Minister Ahmed Hussein and Northern Affairs Minister Dan Vandal joined Nunavut Housing Minister Lauren Kusugak to announce $45 million to build 100 homes in Nunavut for vulnerable or homeless people. 100 homes might seem like a lot, but not when compared to Nunavut's severe housing needs. We asked Minister Kusugak how many homes it would take to meet Nunavut's current housing demand.
If we had the magic wand and Mr. Hussein allowed me to get as many houses as I needed, we would need around 3,000 houses to put everybody into a house in Nunavut.
We need to take a break, but coming up, an Anishinaabe musician is dropped from a music festival because his songs don't contain enough French. Stay with us. A BC man claims to have been racially profiled while trying to open a bank account. He has since filed a human rights complaint. Here's APTN's Tina House with that story.
It was in May 2021 that Sharif Bamji came to this TD Bank in Surrey, BC, because he wanted to open an account. But it went terribly wrong when the bank teller saw his ID.
So when I gave the lady my ID, she asked me for a BC ID, and I told her that that's a status card. And when she looked at it, she said, "Is your name Sharif Bamji?" And from that point, I knew that the whole thing was going to go sideways.
Bamji has Indian status through his mother, who's from the Celtic First Nation, and his father is East Indian, and he is also Muslim. Bamji says he believes it's because of this that the bank refused to open the bank account.
She told me that the ID wasn't real, and she thought that the ID was fake, and she also said to me that the numbers didn't add up.
After he requested her to check her policies, the teller and the bank manager told him he had to leave the bank in front of numerous other customers. Bamji's ordeal continued after he got home and heard a knock on his door.
There was a police that came to my door, and he wanted to ask me about the situation, and he told me that the main reason he was there is because of my name. And he asked me about my name, and we spoke briefly about discrimination.
The officer also informed him that the bank said if he came back on their property, he would be charged with trespassing. However, the officer also shared his own experience with racial discrimination with Bamji.
He spoke about discrimination while being brown and blue, and we had a short discussion about that. And after he left, I felt extremely validated. It made me feel more comfortable in my own skin. It made me feel part of again, because he was including me as to when the bank was excluding me.
What did he say when he left?
He told me that that there was a clear case of discrimination and that I need to look further into it and to hold these people accountable as well.
In 2020, APTN National News brought you a story of another First Nations man, Maxwell Johnson, who tried to open a bank account for his 12-year-old granddaughter, Tori Ann, at the Bank of Montreal in downtown Vancouver. After Johnson also presented his status card, police were called, and the two were handcuffed by Vancouver police and questioned. Ironically, both men are from the same community of Bella Bella, BC. Grand Chief Stuart Phillips says there is no place for racial discrimination in our society.
We need to have a very hard look at the governance of the Canadian financial banking system and take to task those that are responsible to ensure people are treated with respect and dignity regardless of their race or, what color their skin may be.
Bamji is the father of a 9-year-old girl and says that he had to explain to her about what racial profiling means, since this is something he has had to deal with all his life.
I had to explain to her that some people cannot be nice and that we have to try to do the opposite of what these people do, and to also try to be as respectful and treat people with kindness as much as possible.
He has also filed a human rights complaint against the TD Bank. They responded with the following statement. "We are troubled to hear about Mr. Bamji's experience. We have reached out to make a personal apology, to hear more about his experience, and to assure him that we are taking this matter very seriously and will be conducting a full review of what took place." So far, Sharif has not heard from the TD Bank, but after his experience, Sharif was able to open a bank account 20 minutes later at CIBC using his status card for identification. Tina House, APTN National News, Surrey.
An Anishinaabe performer from Quebec is speaking out after a prominent musical festival there pulled the plug on an upcoming gig. Samian says that it's because his planned set wasn't French enough for their taste. Lindsay Richardson explains.
Samian's music carries his message, be it in French or in Anishinaabe Moan. His bilingual flow is a novelty on the Quebec festival circuit, until one particular music festival came calling.
Le spectacle vient tel quel. Je viens à 100% et c'est à prendre ou à laisser. Et on choisit de le laisser, donc c'est dommage.
Samian says the Festival International de la Chanson de Granby invited him to perform this fall and then cancelled his performance because his set list, like his most recent album, was in Anishinaabemowin only. In a statement, the festival says they're still open to collaborating, quote, while taking into account that our first mission is to promote French music. They proposed an 80-20 French and Anishinaabemowin split to the performance, but Samian said no.
Les langues autochtones sont pas menaçantes pour le français. Les langues autochtones sont menacées, oui, mais on a un devoir, j'ai l'impression, comme Québécois, de les valoriser.
Samian sees the issue as open and shut, but it's kicking up dust in political circles because Quebec is currently consulting on Bill 96, legislation meant to prioritize and promote the French language above all others. To the Assembly of First Nations Quebec-Labrador, this and the Samian situation demonstrate a colonial ideology well established in Quebec. The First Nations Education Council sees an oversight.
The Granby Festival underestimated the impact of their decision because it is key for our youth to be proud of who they are. And Samian speaks Anishinaabe, he's proud of his culture, and he has been a role model. And that's what needs to be promoted.
The chief of Samian's home community of Picagan agrees.
Pour nous autres, ça l'amène tout le débat par rapport à l'importance de nos langues, puis qu'on est touché par ce qui se passe avec Samian parce que c'est un membre habité de l'UNI.
Quebec's language ministry declined APTN News' interview request, but said in an email that preserving French and preserving Indigenous languages are two distinct challenges. Samian says he's concerned about how this festival incident is being politicized and that he only spoke out to convey what he feels is the core takeaway.
En fait, le message aussi que je voulais lancer à travers tout ça, c'est de dire à une jeune génération de musiciens, qui soient Atikamekw, Innu, Algonquin, que vous avez le droit de chanter dans vos langues. Et ayez pas peur de vous dire, est-ce que si je le fais pas en français, on m'acceptera pas dans un festival, par exemple?
J'en ai marre des mensonges, marre d'hypocrisie, j'en ai marre des taches de sang sur le drapeau de mon pays.
Pour moi, c'est mission accomplie dans les 15 dernières années de voir autant d'Autochtones que de Québécois se réunir un soir de spectacle. Et ça, pour moi, je trouve ça beau. Et c'est ça que j'ai envie de continuer à faire.
On n'est pas les victimes, mais une autre génération.
Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
We need to take another break, but coming up, our first ever Sports with Strangers. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Festival de Voyageur wrapped up in Winnipeg last weekend. Rachel Mays shared this great shot of her kids Theo and Eileen near one of the many snow sculptures on the largest French event in Western Canada. Thanks so much for sharing that, Rachel. Share your winter pictures with us. You can send us an email to share@aptn.ca. You can be featured during our national newscast as our photo of the day, perhaps. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Over to the east coast, we've got -4 and sunshine for Charlottetown, 0 and sunny in Halifax. Kuujjuaq -18 and snow, sunshine and -18 for Nain. Gaspé -4 and cloudy skies there. Same with you over in Montreal. -3 and snow expected for Ottawa, -1 and snow in Sault Ste. Marie. Kapuskasing -5 and some flurries expected, -3, some snow in Sioux Lookout. Puckatawagan -7 and sunshine, -7 and snow for Norway House. -5 and snow for Winnipeg, -8 snow for Princess Harbour and Dauphin. -11 and snow for Saskatoon and Regina. North Battleford -10 and sunny. Stony Rapids -11 and snow. Meadow Lake -6, sunshine there. Snow and -8 for Fort Chip, 0 and snow for Grand Prairie. Sunshine and -2 for both Edmonton and Red Deer, -9 and snow for Medicine Hat. Lots of sun over in BC, 6 in Quesnel, 13 in Bella Coola. Fort Nelson -1, but sunny. Dease Lake, you're getting some snow, +1. -3 for Dawson City and Beaver Creek, sunny skies there. Sunshine and -8 for Wrigley, -10 in Yellowknife. -1 in Fort McPherson and sunny skies. Tuktoyaktuk -7 and sunshine. -12 in snow for Baker Lake. New Yacht, you get sunshine, -21. Kenite, mostly sunny, -17. Snow and -17 for Clyde River.
Welcome to the very first installment of Sports with Stranger. This first segment is an introduction of sorts for both you at home and myself of what I hope to bring you as we move forward. Now here's a piece I did previously on a young up-and-coming hockey player from Peguis, Manitoba. Now those around Kobe Bear say he has all the ingredients for what a good hockey player and person should be. Kobe Bear is a tall, rangy, gifted winger with the Pilot Mound Buffaloes Hockey Academy. Located in a tiny urban community in southwestern Manitoba with less than 700 people, the Buffaloes play in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League for elite-level student athletes.
I would say I'm more of a playmaker. So that means I'm usually getting the assist more other than the goal.
Buffalo's general manager Rod Collins remembers seeing those traits in Bear while recruiting.
He's got special hockey skills and sense that not everybody has, and those are things that are hard to teach. Obviously we can develop them physically and the skating and that type of thing, but he had good skills and good hockey sense, and that really impressed me.
Bear hails from Peguis, Manitoba's biggest First Nation with roughly 10,000 members. He leans on traditional teachings from his community to help him get through hard times.
It really teaches you to, keep going, because the Sundance, it's pretty hard to accomplish that. Going 4 days without water or food, it's pretty accomplishing, and it's really important, and it teaches you stay strong and keep going, and that's what really taught me was just to keep going and just finish it and just get through it,
He fell in love with the game at home, and it was here where he and his family realized hockey will take him places.
I guess when he was in his second year AAA Bantam, he wanted to pursue Pilot Mound hockey academy. He read about it. Other boys were going there that he knew.
It was hard on my thinking anyway as a mother, you know. He was my firstborn son. I never imagined that he would be moving home or planning to move home, away from home when he was 16 or 15 years old. But we realized, you know, that he had a dream. And his dream was to go as far as he could go in hockey. And we knew that staying home at that point and that age in his life that he needed to move on to reach that dream.
Bears head coach Rick McConnell believes much more lies ahead for the young playmaker.
I think he's progressed immensely, and he's going to continue to improve because he's just got that mindset. He's driven, he wants to get better, so the sky's the limit for him. You never know where it could take him. He's got a bright future if he wants it.
That's kind of what I want to do, is go to that D1 route instead of the WHL route. The Division 1 is more they focus more on the school part and not so much as WHL.
Kobe is now currently playing junior hockey in Saskatchewan with the Battleford North Stars. And now it's time for our first ever highlight of the week. This one comes from Washier Janot on TikTok. Take a look.
J'attache mes jarretières, je vérifie ma coquille, elle vient dans mon jackstrap. Je me mets devant un choc pour bloquer une poque. C'est pas mal plate quand t'as pas de coque. Je me clique les poignets, je rentre dans mon gilet, je me garage.
The youth from the Algonquins of Barrier Lake has garnered quite the following on social media with his dazzling moves and slick tricks. I gotta say, I don't think I can do that. He's just way too skilled with all those moves. And we want to hear from you and see some highlights from you as well. Send your sports stories, pictures, videos, anything to sports@aptn.ca. And you could be our next highlight of the week. And make sure to tune in to APTN tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern as Hockey Night in Canada in Cree makes its return to the airwaves as the Vancouver Canucks take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's all for this first segment of Sports with Stranger. I'll see everyone in 2 weeks.
Thanks for that, Daryl. A two-day Indigenous coaching seminar wraps up today in Enoch Cree Nation, just west of Edmonton. Almost 100 coaches from across Alberta had the opportunity to learn from former Stanley Cup winner and women's national hockey team coach Ryan Walter and some former NHL players. Clinics included body checking, developing the next generation of leaders, and improving the power play. Clinic director John Armbruster says the lessons learned at the clinics will help make better coaches and players.
I really believe this event today is going to help the kids. As we all know, Native Provincials is going on in Edmonton at the end of March, 4-day tournament where over 250 teams will be present. A lot of coaches that are here today are going to be coaching at Native Provincials, and I think today is going to be a real powerful day in learning and then taking those things we learned to the tournament at Native Provincials and then passing it on to kids. And then hopefully kids are passing it on to their friends, and it's just going to be, I think, a real exciting day today.
That is a wrap for your news this Friday. It was great to have that new sports segment with Daryl Stranger. He'll be back in another 2 weeks with another one. I'm Melissa Ridgen. I'll be back here tomorrow with your weekend news. Till then, have a great night.